Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market, let's go over Tesla, and let's figure out what has happened and what we can expect moving into next week. So with all that being said, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor, and my membership section for YouTube is linked down below if you want to hear my intraday thoughts and chart updates on Tesla live throughout the day whenever it's, I guess, important or something meaningful to update. Now, moving into what Tesla closing it down about 2.26% on the day compared to the market. Definitely a bit of an underperformance. QQQ only being down and SPY actually being down only about 0.5%. So bit of an underperformance for the most part. Now, what does this all mean? So yesterday we had Amazon and Apple earnings. I talked about that, how it'll be a major catalyst. Unfortunately, it wasn't as big of a catalyst as I thought it would because they almost counteracted each other, right? Because Apple was down, well, it closed the day down 5%. That's pretty bearish. Apple looks extremely bearish, by the way. This looks really, really bad, right? Came out of this wedge and it's also below the 21 and the 50-day moving average with a bearish looking candle. But on the flip side, Amazon was up about 8%. So almost like counteracting each other. Still sold off on the day for the most part, as you can see, also an extremely looking bearish candle, but nonetheless, it almost counteracted each other. So the market in Tesla wasn't affected by it as much as I thought it would be. But with that being said, let's talk about what still is happening. So the first thing to note is the fact that we did start the day off a little bit bullish. Actually, this day actually started pretty decent. Tesla was up, I think, almost like 1% or 2 kind of earlier in the day. But then you can see as we came up to the 21 EMA, once again, we're still getting absolutely smacked by this 21 EMA, right? We're just getting utterly rejected by it over and over and over and over. Ever since earnings, we just keep getting rejection and it's not looking too hot. Personally, what I'm doing is on this, I wish I could say when I did it when it was at the top of the screen, but pretty much right when it was around 260, I did sell cover calls against some of my shares that I own. And I thankfully bought back my sold puts that were expiring today. Thank goodness I did that because I would have been buying much higher if I didn't. So good thing I did. Nonetheless, it's not looking too hot. On the flip side, we are still above the 50-day moving average. We bounced off of it twice so far, and now we're pretty much closing almost right at it once again. So we're pretty much sandwiched between two fairly meaningful indicators right now that a lot of people look at. I promise you right now, a lot of people's eyeballs are on this 21 EMA, on this 50-day moving average, and also on this 100-day moving average just below at 215, which, like I said several times, will slowly keep going up to catch us, which I do think will come down to. If I had to just take a guess here, no one knows for sure, but if I had to take just an educated guess as to what will happen, I do think we'll break below the 50-day moving average. I do think we'll fall down. There's a chance that we actually only go to 240. There's absolutely a chance, but I personally think we'll come down close to this 100-day moving average. Again, I don't think it'll happen necessarily right away. It might take some time. It might even take a month for that to happen. Who knows for sure? But I do think we'll come down to this 100-day moving average. Another potential possibility is it happens faster than anyone expects, potentially. And the reason I say that is because right now, I'm sure a lot of people know that September and October, pretty bad months for the month for Tesla and the markets. But maybe because the market's been doing a lot of flip situations where like a lot of people say, oh, sell in May and go away. Completely the opposite happened this May. You know what I mean? That saying did nothing. Same concept can apply here because everyone expects September and potentially even October to be bearish. What if the flip happens, right? Just keep that in mind. There's always a possibility. No one knows for sure. That's why this is, most people lose essentially is what I can say, right? But just keep that in mind. That's important to understand. Now, but like I said, as long as we're still above the 50-day moving average, we're technically bullish, but below the 21 EMA, we're technically bearish. So we're in this limbo, and until one of them breaks, you're not really going to know for sure what the overall next move will be. I personally think, like I said, it is going to break down below the 50-day moving average and will go down even further. I talked about this also before, but we have the volume by price, right? Where if we break below the 50-day moving average and we start going into lower volume territory, but still some volume, which also if you look at order blocks, if I go to the 65-minute chart, for instance, right, on order blocks, you can see there are, of course, order blocks sitting all the way between 250, a pretty big one too, 250 and all the way down to pretty much 242, that level I just talked about, right? Massive order block all the way down here. So just, FYI, just, understand the fact that there is technically support, even though the volume does go down. Let me go ahead and remove the order block thing, right? Even though the volume on the daily, you can see does decrease substantially in the 240s, it's still technically, okay volume, right? Similar to what we had all the way up here. So there is still some potential for support. There is still potential that the 240s is the bottom. I don't think it will be because we're going to be below the 50-day moving average. That is going to be pretty bearish looking overall. So just, take it for what it's worth, right? There's a chance that maybe we come down to 240, get a bounce to the 50-day moving average, and then retest that, similar to how we did to the 21 EMO. We kind of, crashed below it, came back up, retested it several times, and then continued lower. Same thing might happen to the 50-day moving average as well, right? That's always a possibility. So keep that in mind. But especially if 240 breaks, then the volume essentially gets non-existent all the way back down until pretty much 220, right? And that's, I think, where the 100-day moving average is slowly going to continue rising up, ever so slightly, day by day by day, until it meets us somewhere around that 220-ish range. And I think that's going to be a very good possibility for being the bottom. And that's where I think, we can consolidate, recoup, get new buyers in, refresh the cycle, if you will, and then make our way up even higher. That's just my current perspective, of course. Take it as you will. Of course, can be completely wrong. No one knows for sure what will happen, but that is what I personally expect as of right now. So there's really not that much more to update other than that. In all honesty, those are probably the most important things to talk about, right? We have the, what's it called? The pivot, the TW pivot over here on the weekly, which we talked about, right? How, it had this overall massive, sell signal, potential top signal way over on this weekly candle up here, right? So keep that in mind, right? That was a pretty major situation to pay attention to, right? Massive sell signal over here with this pretty bearish looking weekly candle. And so far, we're definitely falling below. On the weekly, we have the 100-day moving average. Which ones? Make sure I'm not mixing it up. Yeah. We have the 100-day moving average that we're so far sitting at right now. So, maybe this is a potential for support still, right? Which is almost exactly where the 50-day moving average is on the daily. So, there is some potential for a support here. Again, as long as we're above this 100-day moving average and the 50-day moving average, which essentially coincide right now on the daily and the weekly, there is a potential to bounce here. But again, if this is lost, then we're definitely coming down to around this kind of 220-ish range, which is where the 21 EMO, of course, is on the weekly as well. So very important to understand that, guys, right? The most simple way to think about it is, again, losing 50-day moving average means we see 240, losing 240 means we see 220, and I think 220 is where we potentially have the bottom, and is where I also will be continuing to buy the dip. Right. Moving along, we also have the VIX still finding some life. A nice looking candle on the VIX as well here. Let me go ahead and remove the 100-day moving average. So many indicators here that I kind of get lost as to which one's which, right? But nonetheless, we have the the VIX rather kind of looking pretty decent, the MACD and everything. I know people say you can't do technical analysis on the VIX. I disagree. I think you can. But nonetheless, it's looking like it's finding some life, looking pretty damn good here. Whereas the market's selling off, the VIX is getting a beautiful bounce so far. And it's, again, like I said, usually when the VIX goes up, the market tends to be going down, right? Because the volatility usually increases, much larger swings happening and things like that, which is great for someone if you like to sell puts and whatnot, sold options, right? That's fantastic for people like that, which happens to be someone like me. But the RSI not looking too amazing just yet, right? It's kind of looking like it's trying to hold up over here, but still ultimately the overall structure still not looking good. As I said many times, as we're making higher highs and higher lows on the stock itself, RSI is of course making literally the opposite, lower lows, lower highs. Obviously not a good sign. And until that really starts changing overall direction, which again on the daily, especially with the RSI, definitely takes time. It takes months, guys. It takes months. It doesn't happen over the course of a week or something like that. Daily, especially RSI on the daily, very slow indicator, but it's a very meaningful indicator in my opinion. I personally like it quite a bit. But it takes time to really develop a new structure and to reverse this bearish structure that we see here and form into a bullish one. It will take some time. It will take another couple of months, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I do think it will happen. It'll just, it's a matter of when, not if as well. But all in all, that's kind of what I am seeing. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed the video, let me know as well down below. And don't forget to hit that like button. Again, pay attention to these two indicators right now. Probably the most important thing to look at, in my opinion, regarding Tesla. And just keep an eye on them. Be very closely watching them and react accordingly, in my opinion. But otherwise, thanks for watching. And I'll see you for the next one. Peace.